The storm was a monstrous roar, and the wind lashed against the windows like a beast trying to break free. Inside the old Victorian house, the atmosphere was thick with dread, the kind that presses on your chest, suffocates your thoughts. Lily stood frozen by the window, her heart racing as the storm raged outside. The air felt cold, even though the heater hummed in the background. Her fiancé, Jack, was supposed to arrive hours ago. She hadn't heard from him since that unsettling text earlier in the day. "I need to think about things, Lil. Don't wait up." Her pulse quickened as she turned away from the window, her gaze falling to the door. She'd heard rumors about this house. People spoke of strange occurrences, unseen footsteps, whispers in the night, but Lily had dismissed them. That was before Jack had changed. Lily's heart jumped in her chest. She wasn't expecting anyone. The knock echoed in the empty house, the sound unnatural in the heavy silence. With shaky hands, she moved toward the door. A part of her wanted to lock herself inside, never answer, but she couldn't. She had to know. As her fingers brushed the doorknob, she noticed something strange, a streak of red on the floor, a smear of blood. Cold fear flooded her veins. She hesitated, but the knock came again, more insistent this time. "Jack?" she whispered, though she didn't expect a response. Her voice trembled. She opened the door. It wasn't Jack. A woman stood there, drenched, her hair matted to her pale face, her clothes clinging to her like a second skin. Her eyes were wide with something that could have been horror or madness. Lily couldn't tell. The woman didn't speak, but her presence filled the doorway, like she was somehow suffocating the air around her. "Who are you?" Lily stammered. The woman took a slow, deliberate step forward, her eyes never leaving Lily's. There was something unnerving in her stillness, something unnatural. "I'm here for Jack," the woman finally whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Lily froze. "Jack?" Her mind raced. Was this another lover? A jealous ex? "I don't know who you are, but you need to leave." Lily stepped back, trying to close the door, but the woman's hand shot out, stopping it. "No," the woman said, her voice now almost a hiss. "Jack is mine." A chill swept through Lily as the words hung in the air, but before she could respond, the woman was gone, vanished into thin air. Lily stood there, her heart pounding, her mind in a fog. What just happened? Was it a hallucination? Or was there something darker at play? Her eyes darted around the room. There had to be an explanation. She couldn't just let this happen. Jack was hers. They were getting married in just a few days. But that was when she remembered. Jack had been distant lately. Their once perfect relationship had begun to fray. He'd been acting strangely, anxious, lost in thought, withdrawing more and more. Was it because of this woman? She grabbed her phone and dialed Jack's number. The line rang twice before going to voicemail. Frustration gnawed at her. Where was he? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed from upstairs. Louder, closer, the unmistakable creak of floorboards. "Jack?" Lily called out, her voice quivering with a mix of hope and fear. No answer. She didn't know why, but something compelled her to go up. Slowly, she climbed the stairs, her feet hesitant with each step. The house seemed darker than before, and a sense of foreboding filled the air. Her mind raced with questions. Was Jack up there? Was he in trouble? Why hadn't he answered her calls? The door to their bedroom was ajar. She pushed it open, stepping inside. Her breath caught in her throat. Jack was there, sitting on the floor in the middle of the room. His back was to her, and his body was unnaturally still. "Jack?" she whispered, taking a step toward him. But the moment her foot touched the floor, she froze. The room seemed colder. The shadows in the corners grew darker, thicker, like they were closing in on her. And then she saw it, the thing that made her blood run cold. In the mirror above the dresser, a figure appeared, a woman. Her reflection stood behind Jack, her features twisted into something grotesque, her eyes hollow with malice. The woman smiled, a grin that sent a wave of nausea through Lily. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came. Only the sound of a low, mocking laugh echoed through the room. "Jack! Jack, get up!" Lily cried out, shaking his shoulder. But Jack didn't move. He remained frozen, his body like a lifeless doll, his expression blank. A wave of despair swept over Lily as the woman in the mirror reached out, her hand slipping into Jack's reflection like a shadow stretching towards the real world. Lily stumbled back, her eyes darting between Jack and the mirror. "Jack, wake up!" she screamed. But just as the woman's hand almost touched Jack's face in the reflection, the room went silent. The mirror cracked. The sound of glass shattering echoed, and suddenly, the woman was no longer in the mirror. She was in the room. She stood behind Jack now, her cold, lifeless hand hovering over his shoulder. Lily screamed as the woman's eyes flicked to her, and she smiled again. "He belongs to me now," she whispered, her voice filled with venom. Lily ran toward the door, but as she reached for the handle, she felt it, the cold touch of fingers wrapping around her wrist. She turned to see Jack, his face empty, his eyes glazed over. "You're too late," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. The woman stepped closer, her presence oppressive, like a suffocating shadow closing in on Lily. "Jack, please," Lily sobbed, but he didn't respond. With one last desperate cry, Lily pulled herself free, her fingers slipping from Jack's grasp. She ran down the stairs, the sound of the woman's eerie laughter following her every step. But when she reached the front door, it wouldn't open. The door slammed shut, as if someone, was locking it from the outside. Lily's breath came in ragged gasps as she backed away from the door, her heart racing in her chest. The last thing she saw before the house went completely dark was the shadow of the woman and Jack, standing together in the hallway, eyes fixed on her. She was never meant to escape. A week later, the house was abandoned, its windows dark, and its doors chained shut. No one had seen Lily since that night. Only one thing remained: the shattered mirror in their bedroom, reflecting an empty room. Jack's reflection was gone, but the woman stood in the corner, her eyes glinting with a quiet, wicked satisfaction. The story of the cursed house spread like wildfire, and rumors whispered of the strange woman who took Jack, who became him. No one knew who she was or why she wanted him, but one thing was certain: Jack was no longer Jack, and Lily had never truly existed in the first place. As for the house, it stood there, waiting for the next couple to come. The woman was always watching, always waiting for the perfect moment to strike again, and the door would always be open,